It's hard to argue with the fact that What Remains of Edith Finch is a game about storytelling in the first place. The immediate and, perhaps, the most important narrator, besides the main character Edith, is the magical, fabulous, huge and fantastic family home of the Finch family. In the person of the last representative of the family, the player is offered to study this miracle of architecture to the smallest detail and learn all the stories that this house keeps. Yes, the house is empty, but it is empty only in terms of population. In every other sense the house is incredibly full. The developers dotted the house with an incredible array of details. Each room here tells its own story. Everything has a story. The left bags of Chinese food from the store, which was the only one in the city that agreed to deliver food to a place so far from the city, 100 cans of canned food given out as payment to one of the residents of the house, a dozen cages for parrots, 100 paintings hanging on the walls. Here even the fireplace has its own history. It is said that it was built from bricks from the former Finch house, buried at the bottom of the sea not far from here. The developers managed to fill every corner of their game with an incredible amount of detail. Finch House really wants to explore. I want to see every corner of it. Known to many environmental storytelling, narration through the environment is elevated here to the absolute. Also, the whole house is very well thought out and full of many little things. For example, a wooden dragon, which one of the family members tried to build, still lies dilapidated in a swamp next to the house, and in the basement you can find a machine tool on which there are several blanks for this very dragon. Or let's say one of Edith's grandmothers loved to knit and especially often knitted for her granddaughter Edith. If you are careful, you can see that Edith walks around in unusually knitted gloves during the game itself. Each room of this incredible house tells the story of its owner. The room of the twin brothers literally consists of two parts, painted in two colors, and consists of a space base and a military camp. The girl star's room is hung with Hollywood posters and movie signs with her name. Even the bath here is quite eccentric. Not only is it literally all pink and plush, but it also keeps a secret passage, like almost everything in this house. The player is offered to visit each room and learn about each member of this strange family. Perhaps this is because it is customary for Finches to keep the rooms of their even deceased relatives in the state that the owner kept them during his lifetime. However, who wants to wander around an empty house and look around the rooms of its former inhabitants for no reason? And most importantly, why? It turns out that this eccentric house is surrounded by mystery. It is said that the Finch family is under a curse, and every member of it dies under very strange circumstances. Edith wants to find out exactly how each of the Finches died and whether the curse attributed to her family is true. The player will have to explore the whole eccentric Finch house and learn its every story. Getting into the next room, we are offered to live the last day in the life of its owner. Each time the story starts in a different way, whether it's a found note about that day, photos, or eventually a personal diary. Each such story from the life of Finches is a whole game within a game. Each memory has its own unique gameplay, unlike anything else. It is in these stories that What Remains of Edith Finch is revealed as a game. The developers decided to tell us a whole bunch of amazing stories directly through the gameplay. Getting to each of the stories hidden in the house, the player will have to experience them himself, literally. It is at this moment that the amazing magic of Edith Finch occurs. Finch's life stories are expertly written, making the game constantly compared to a well-written book or novel, and each tells a story about death in a way that's really worth thinking about. Moreover, all the stories are told through the gameplay. You have to lead to the death of each of the Finches with your own hands and feel what they felt on their last day. It's up to you to swing little Kelvin until he falls over. It's up to you to walk the railroad with Walther. It's up to you to bring Lewis to the deadly blade and put your head under it. Each room in the Finch house will draw an image of its inhabitant in your head, the music will set you in the right mood, and the story will make you feel the fate of a family member in your own skin and make you groan, then laugh, then sob. All stories are very different from each other, each will offer you different tasks and tell about completely different people. You have to visit the skin of a monster from under the bed of little Molly, and take a walk in a real comic book about Barbara Finch, and control the plastic toys of little Gregory in his bath, and work on the conveyor of a fish factory. However, all these different stories will be connected by only one thing: death, the death of each of the Finches. What Remains of Edith Finch will definitely give you a whole bunch of unusual gaming experience. The developers managed to wrap something in the gameplay that you could not even think about. At the same time, they managed to unite absolutely every aspect of their game with a common attachment to the story, which they skillfully narrate and put into the head of their player. Everything works for storytelling in this game: diverse gameplay, incredible music, excellent and fabulous picture and atmosphere. However, after all this, it does not cease to be a game that uses its gameplay very skillfully, a game that invents situations that you are unlikely to ever go through again, a game with a capital G. Due to the short duration of the game, it is very pleasant to replay and notice the many details and trifles scattered in the vastness of the Finch family home. As a result, What Remains of Edith Finch is an incredible adventure, a fairy tale that tells about a family for which death has become commonplace. This little game, which is only 2 to 3 hours long, invites you to live the life of 13 members of a huge family and see the death of each of them. I don't want to talk too much about a small game. You yourself must see and experience everything that Edith's story has prepared. What Remains of Edith Finch is a game that can give you such emotions that no other work of art can give.